All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. I see some of your questions. We'll be posing them to the Director General, Kenya Wildlife Service, retired Brigadier John Waweru is with us here. Waziri couldn't make it. CS Najib Balala sent in apologies. We're talking about the impact of tourism and the first ever wildlife census report conducted by Kenyans, funded by Kenyans themselves. DG, let's talk about the impact of all this to tourism. And you brought it up because I'm perturbed that out of 53 parks, only 10 seem to be giving revenue. What's going on with all the 43? Is it that people don't know about it? Or what's going on there?
Well, you know, of course, I think the development of parks in Kenya started in 1976. I think that's when the Kenya Wildlife Service came to exist. 1989 is when the law now came into play. The Wildlife Management Act.
Yeah.
Now, we've been developing the parks over the years to be able to get, of course, the infrastructure done, to be able to open them up so that people can actually visit. And of the parks that we have opened up about 50% of the parks. But you find the ones that get visitation are only about 10 or 12 because you do not have much happening in the other areas. Why? There are no facilities. Like now, for example, if you went to Meru National Park, there used to be a hotel. I think it was called Leopard Rock, if I'm not mistaken. It's no longer functional. It's actually not working now. Although the county of Meru and Kenya Wildlife Service, we're having discussions now to see how they can be involved in being able to open up such areas. So you find a park like that is very good and it has a lot of wildlife. And we have the roads. We have done the roads in that park, so it's motorable. You can be able to motor anywhere. But we don't have any facilities within the parks. And these are some of the reasons why some of these other parks have not opened up. They have a lot of good flora and fauna, but they've not opened up to the general public. And what we want is to see how we can be able to open up even more. Hence the issue of the PPP.
But that's the same thing we're talking about, DG, because I think in your strategic plan, which I think was launched, there was a conversation around that. What are you planning to do in terms of marketing for all those other different places?
One of the, you know, we depended very heavily, and now it comes to the question of COVID and how it affected us. Primarily, the visitor that had been targeted by KWS historically is the international visitor. And during the COVID, when COVID came in, we lost 90% of that visitation. And about 86% of the revenue that comes with it. So it was a huge blow. So we had to rethink our position. We had to think about what do we do? And that is when we came up with targeting of the domestic market. And hence, and I'm sure the viewers probably have seen this on social media, the Zuru na KWS. Zuru na KWS came about because of that. We were targeting, and we are still targeting, the domestic market so that we can then have larger numbers. And we have seen a massive improvement in this. In 2020 July, the number we had then visitation of domestic market, it's doubled by 2021 July. So we are seeing a huge number of people now visiting the parks, Kenyans and even people from the region who are very excited about seeing these new places they probably didn't know. Like now, for example, I don't know if you've been there, Trevor, Marsabit. If you go to Marsabit National Reserve, an amazing place. Today, you can drive. You can actually take a vehicle and drive on tarmac all the way to Marsabit and then go to the park. It has some absolutely stunning views. But not many people know this. Marsabit is considered one of the ones that is a paper park. But if you drive through Marsabit, it's brilliant. It's amazing. It really is a beautiful place. So those are some of the things that we're trying to do at Kenya Wildlife Service. Yes.
Let me bring up some of the feedback that's coming through and see what the Director General has to say in regards to them. It's Zach. Zach says, wasn't it important to prevent human-wildlife conflict by fencing, then do sensors and naming after? Our natural settings will be big-owned pets in a zoo, ama Amboseli National Park, opportunities for locals. There are many questions in this one, DG. Let's start with the issue of fencing before you do sensors and naming after. Was that necessary? And do you advocate for that, enclosing the animals in a specific region, or should they just be free range?
Well, first and foremost, Kenya is the kind of wildlife conservation we do is free ranging. However, when you have endangered species, that is when you put them in sanctuaries. Just like our rhinos, like the white rhinos that were introduced in 1989. Those are more often than not in spaces which are sanctuaries. Because then you can provide better protection for them. Okay? So that's the reason why the issue of fencing, it's not about creating zoos. No. It's about protecting endangered species. All the other species are free ranging. Elephants, free range. Lions, free range. Most of the plain game, free ranges. But if we want to look after specific species and prevent their extinction, we have to put them in sanctuaries. So it's not about creating zoos, it's about protecting certain species.
There's another question that came up out of that in terms of the human-wildlife conflict. Is there a silver bullet to this, or is this something that we're going to deal with all along? Because there are some people that sometimes also encroach in wildlife paths, and wildlife are creatures of habit. If they cross a certain place and you come and build a house there, they will still cross that place. What is the silver bullet for dealing with human-wildlife conflict going forward?
Let me start from where I talked about the issue of the fact that we are competing for space, wildlife and human beings. What has happened over time? Wildlife have areas where they go to, and they also have corridors and dispersal areas. Traditionally, where they used which they use, traversing, because wildlife is meant to traverse from one park to the next. They are not meant to be boxed in one park. They traverse from one park to the next. And that's how wildlife has existed over time. Number two, Trevor, maybe this is something that Kenyans probably don't know, and I would like to put it out there in the general public. 65% of the wildlife exists with communities. It's only 35% that is within parks and reserves. So most of this wildlife is out there with the communities. And time immemorial, they have existed with people out there. So because of that, what do we do as far, there's no silver bullet, Trevor. There was no silver bullet on this. Because if it had been there, I suppose over the years, it would have been resolved.
But there has to be some sort of collaboration with the people.
There is, there is. And there are projects like now. We have a project that we are starting off, and the pilot project is being done at the moment between BIDCO and the Kenya Wildlife Service. What we're doing is, and the first one is in Amboseli, that's where we're starting off. What we're doing is we are encouraging communities where there are dispersal and corridor areas. On the sides where the communities are, they plant sunflower. Why sunflower? Elephants don't like sunflower. The reason why they don't like sunflower is because sunflower attracts bees. And bees and elephants are not very good friends at all. So what then the communities do is leave the corridor open, but on either side of where the communities are, they plant sunflower. Now, BIDCO is partnering with Kenya Wildlife Service so that they provide the seedlings for them. They're purchased by the community, but provided by BIDCO. And they will then be able to pick them up once they're ready. Whatever comes out of the crushed seed when they get the oil out will go back as fertilizer. And the bees, on the bee side, for the youth and women and people with a disability, they have another company that actually is going to help harvest the honey, the community harvest the honey, so that then it is bottled and this company buys it off the community. So you see, this becomes like a win-win-win. Win-win for wildlife, because they will be given their spaces.
Yeah.
Win for the community because they also... So there are projects like those. That's just but one example.
Yeah.
There are projects as such that help, minimize or mitigate human-wildlife conflict.
Yeah.
And as I said, it's a going concern because it's with us.
Okay.
And it's going to be with us for the long haul.
All right, let's bring up another feedback that's coming through at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. M. Karbat says, can you tell us the number of giraffes in northern Kenya and the number that is killed by game poachers on daily basis, and how many are dying as a result of biting drought? I see here that the Nubian giraffe has been put as 768.
Yes.
And they're categorized as endangered.
Yes.
Now, Karbat is wondering how many are dying out of drought and poaching as well. Is there a difference in patterns of poaching in different regions? Because his is very specific. Him is talking about the area, northern Kenya area.
Yes, indeed. Again, this is about the issue of bushmeat poaching.
Yeah.
We have seen in the northern parts of Kenya quite a significant increase, especially during the advent of COVID. Yeah. An increase in poaching of giraffes. And it's happening up there. Of course, our people are aware of this, and they keep watch to minimize this. And of course, when people are caught, they're taken to court for doing this, because it's illegal. Yeah. It's not something that should be done. But as far as drought is concerned, yes, we are losing animals in the north. And everywhere else. It's not just in the north, in some other areas as well. There's a time when there was a major drought, I think it was 2000 or thereabouts, we lost a huge number of elephants in Saavo. And what we do at Kenya Wildlife Service is to try and mitigate this by either dropping boreholes or moving water to certain areas where the communities and wildlife benefit from it. Because, of course, it's such a vast area. You can't do it for every space. Yeah. But we are trying as much as we can to provide water and feed sometimes as well, so that both livestock and wildlife can benefit from it, and so that we prevent them dying from drought. But yes, that they are dying from drought, yes, they are.
All right, let's bring up another feedback that's coming through on our newsrooms here. And see Ali from Mombasa says, can you say something on the marine side in respect to the census, specifically marine endangered numbers? And in fact, there was a time that we saw at international media saying that they've discovered something on the marine areas. was the whales?
I remember I saw that.
Yeah.
Well, whales have been existing, and we were aware of them. Yeah. In the Watamu and the south coast area of Kenya for the longest time. Yeah. And ever since then, we've known that the whales come there to breed and then go back. Yeah. And they come around actually this next month. September, October is when you see the whales in that area. Talking about the marine side. Yeah. Yes. Kenya Wildlife Service looks after marine protected areas. And the marine protected areas have certain areas which are protected both for the fish that exists and the coral and everything else. So you do not fish in marine protected areas. Yeah. They are marine reserves, like now, Kisite Mpunguti. Yeah. We do have reserves where a certain amount of fishing can actually be done by the local using nets that have been cleared by us. In other words, so that you only get the bigger fish and not the small one. Yeah. And that can be done for the community and by the community. And we have partnerships like in Shimoni, where the communities actually do the fishing for their own, for the community, so that they can be able to either use for feeding and of course to sell as a way of sustaining themselves. Yeah. The other thing they're also doing in that area is things like seaweed. Yeah. They also harvest seaweed, which is then sold to hotels and other areas, and it's a very good source of just like you take greens, it's the same thing with seaweed. So it's available. Yeah. And it happens.
But what is one of the biggest challenges when it comes to marine areas, like he's mentioning? One of them would be pollution, especially plastic. And is this part of the IUCN conversation?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. One of the things that we've been really working hard and fighting against is plastics inside protected areas. And we are very, very strict about it along the coast for people to either use plastic bottles or throw plastic into the sea, because it does kill the marine life. It does affect it very, very adversely. Yeah. And one of the things that I'll be traveling tonight, I'll be going to France, and we are going to be talking as Kenya. The point we're pushing is the issue of zero single-use plastic or no single-use plastic in protected areas. Yeah. And this is one of the areas that we're talking about, the marine area and also the terrestrial areas, the parks and other areas.
But yours seems to me, DG, like a job that involves the community at large. How are you enhancing that collaboration? Because I don't think you can do that on your own. Even when it comes to plastic, you need people to watch and you don't have enough boots on the ground. What is the plan to ensure that the communities understand that they need to collaborate with you? What are you doing to allow them to do that?
One of the things, Trevor, we do is we are very involved with the communities in the areas of the marine, particularly in the marine park, where we actually have communities who assist us to clean up those areas. Now, by involving them in the cleanup, we also sensitize them towards the issue of pollution. Yeah. And I can tell you, Trevor, in the North Coast area, we collect anywhere between 4 and 5 tons of plastic a week. That's the amount of pollution we're talking about along the beach and other areas. So we've been having a concerted effort in the last 4 or so years to deliberately work towards keeping the marine protected areas free of plastic. Yeah. And we're quite strict with the people we get, and some we've taken to court for polluting the area with plastic. So yes, that's how we involve the community.
All right, let's bring up another feedback that's coming through and see what you're saying. You don't leave a name. You say the government should tell us if there's an increase in playing games that has been observed to be on a decline, not about keystone species. This should necessitate a change in conservation approach. Is there a change in the conservation approach, DG, generally? After having this report coming out now, are you going to, is there a rethinking of the strategy when it comes to conservation, or will you just continue doing what you're doing? Is it working? That's essentially the question.
The reason why we got this report, or we did the census, Trevor, is because we are now going to be able to channel limited resources, because we don't have all the resources we need, limited resources to specific areas where we will now be able to support certain species to ensure they survive and thrive. That is the reason why we did the census, so that we can be able to know where is it, first and foremost, what is the resource we look after? Yeah. What does it look like? Okay, what size is it? Then, where do we need specific attention so that we can then, so the plan will change, Trevor. Yeah. Definitely it will. Okay. Because now when we look at our plans for sustaining certain species, we now know where they are, we know how many they are, and so and the habitat they're in, so we can improve on the ecosystem and the habitat, and also build on the numbers so that we can sustain it, so certain species don't go extinct. Okay. They're asking about plain game. Yeah. Plain game has increased. I mentioned zebras. Yeah. Zebras generally across the country have doubled in number. And that's part of the plain game we're talking about. Yeah. And also other antelopes. Yeah. They also have increased in number. So it's not just concentrating on the species that are endangered. No. Okay. It's about all the species, because we want to make sure they coexist and thrive within the country. Okay. Yes.
Let's bring up another one. Munji says, why do we have only 2,000 plus lions and yet they are not being poached like elephants?
Okay, Trevor. 2,000 plus lions. We said about 2,500. Yes. Yeah. Lions. Yeah. Is a number that is increasing from where it was before. They had been poached very, very heavily at some point for trophies. And I think there's some places where you go and see this mane and the head of a lion, supposedly, in those olden days, used to be something for prestige, you know, having it in your house, but not anymore. And that's the reason why the numbers declined tremendously. But then we are seeing an increase now as we go forward. But the idea here is elephants. We have seen an increase of 2,000. In 2013, over 300 elephants were poached. In 2020, only 11. And thus far, we've only had 3 this year. And we intend to keep that number that way. So going forward, we are protecting all species. It's not about one species or the other. For us, it's all species, but specific to species, we want to have specific resources given there so that we can then be able to focus. As I said, we have limited resources. And some of the plans we have for recovery actually are not funded. So this is where we need to go back to government and say, hey, we did the census. We know that a certain species is in more danger than we actually anticipated. Can we get funding specifically to protect that species? Yes.
All right, let's bring up another one. Kask Gio says, can you tell us what you give back to the community around Roma National Park? Because even roads or water, you don't help community with them in that area. This is the other issue, CSR and community collaboration. Like I mentioned that for you, your work is really just to ensure that there's a lot of collaboration. Now, there's a specific question on Roma National Park.
Indeed, Roma National Park, as I said, is the home of the Rowan antelope, which is an endangered species. There are only 15 of them remaining in that park. And we had a partnership with Safaricom the other day, and we were able to put them in an area where there is predator-free. So now we don't have the hyenas and the predators going in to attack them. Hopefully, we will see the numbers increase as we go along. As far as the community CSR is concerned, we do a lot on CSR. Okay. Of course, as I said, it's limited amounts. Annually, we have only about 40 million to distribute across all the areas of the country, as far as CSR is concerned. So wherever we can, we'll either do a borehole, or we'll renovate a school or build one, or a clinic for the communities there. And that's what we do with CSR. As far as Roma is concerned, I don't have that data, but I believe there was a project we were doing, and I think it had to do with the school that we did up. We didn't build it. We just renovated it. Yes, and that has happened. All right. Yes.
Let's bring up another one here and see. Chemarun Saum says, you're too reluctant in Mount Elgon. What is happening? You can openly see poachers roaming around. What is your plan to contain these? Is that statement true, DG?
I wouldn't want to.
Mount Elgon.
I don't think so. I wish they were more specific on what kind of poaching is going on there. Because we do have a team in Mount Elgon. We do have elephants in Mount Elgon and other species of animals. And I've not had any specific report on the poaching that is going on. I wish they could report to our wardens on the ground, who will then be able to address that directly. Yes.
But you've not been dealing with specific poachers in Mount Elgon?
No. Okay. I've not.
All right, let's see what else you're saying here. Joel Keloy says, Kajiado South, especially the group ranches along Amboseli National Park, are not benefiting in any way with the CSR. I think you've addressed this in terms of the limited resources.
Exactly.
And also not being able to reach everywhere. Let's see what else is coming up. Jacob Abere says, what plans are in place to mitigate human and wildlife animals in Saavo and Chulu Park? We have seen jumbos destroying things and even killing human beings, Mombasa Road area as well. DG, this question is not going away in terms of the conflict between wildlife and humans.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're saying what really is the mitigation plan?
What we've been doing, especially in the areas of Saavo, Taita Taveta area, is there's areas which we have set aside, or rather, should we say we've created corridors the original corridors where animals pass, particularly jumbos, elephants, and fenced off those of the communities. Sometimes we don't agree completely with the community on where the fence should run, and this sometimes delays the actual fencing of an area so that you can protect the community. But on the larger scope, we have done a lot of fencing to prevent that from happening. As I said earlier when I started talking, it is the dry season. It happens that the animals now don't have water wherever they are, and especially in Saavo East, it's a big, big problem because it's quite dry. So what then happens is the animals will come to where the population or the community lives because they can smell the water. Actually, elephants can smell water from miles away. So they will know there's water there, and they will try to come and get that water. So that's part of the issue. Although we're trying very much, and in many areas, like the other day, we had about 100 elephants in Kerio Valley, and we had to push them all the way from the Tot area, all the way to Rimoi. 4 days later, we're told the elephants are back because they're coming to look for food and water. And they will still come back and do that. You can't block them off and say, we'll prevent this, because if that is cut across the entire country, how do you do that? How do you even achieve that? It's difficult.
And despite trying to sink boreholes and water pans, you can't do it in all these places, can you?
You can. It's progressive. It's work in progress because you have to keep doing constantly. And now this is where the county government comes in. It can be able to help a lot because if they can assist us to be able to get boreholes and water pans in their areas, in collaboration with Kenya Wildlife Service, then we will have water available both for livestock and wildlife. Then conflict goes down because that's all the animals want. The water.
All right.
Yes, that's what they come for.
Let's bring up what more you're saying here. Pinye says, what are the efforts the KWS are doing to engage the youth in promotion of tourism in the country? Can they reduce park fees for youth to cash 100? He's very specific, to encourage more youths to visit the parks.
Okay, let me first say that we actually are working with the youth quite well. A stand-up shout-out is a team that works in the park and within KWS, particularly Nairobi National Park. And they are involved in cleaning up of areas such as, those plastics. They help us to do that. They voluntarily do that. And then invasive species. Because we have some plants which are invasive species, which if allowed to grow, would then destroy the ecosystem. So we involve them, and this is happening. As far as reducing the park fees
for specific groups,
let me just say, already as it is, we've reduced park fees by 50%. Already. And we did this as one of the strategies that we had to encourage the domestic market to come and visit the parks. So like Nairobi National Park was 824. Now it is 412 to go into the park. So it's a small amount. Kenya Wildlife Service has to continue to thrive. And the way we do it is by the fees we take. And the fees are for conservation. They go back to conservation. That's what the fee does. So that's why we call it a conservation fee. We don't even call it park fee. It's a conservation fee because it goes back to conservation. Yes.
Let's see what else you're saying here. Opembe Edgar is looking for a job. When is the KWS recruitment? When is the next recruitment?
Trevor, we are hoping we are going to get funding soon, but we've not recruited since 2015. And we are hoping that we will get some funding so that we can then be able to do recruitment. It's true, our numbers of rangers have dropped significantly, of course, retirements, some people leaving, and of course, naturally by attrition, death. So the numbers have been reducing, and we are hoping possibly this financial year, and if not the next one, we'll be able to do some recruitment. So not yet for now.
Yeah.
I don't have it in my budget right now.
Yeah.
But maybe in the next financial year, we'll be able to do that.
All right. Yes. Let's see what else you're saying. Dr. James Jogu says, why don't you dig water pumps, boreholes in the parks for the animals? Which is something you've just addressed
exactly.
now.
Yeah. We've been doing boreholes.
Yeah.
But you can't do boreholes everywhere.
Yeah.
But we've been progressively trying to do so, and where we have done it, it has actually worked very well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Kagima at JQuat says, Maasai Morans are still killing lions for their circumcision rituals. I bet this decreases lion population. Is that true? Is there a cultural conflict?
No. Yeah. Maybe let me correct that.
Yeah.
We don't have lions being killed for rituals anymore.
Yeah.
The reason is because we actually have, from previous history, hides, okay, for lions and the head and the mane,
yeah,
which we keep. So during those rituals, okay, because they go on, they hire them from us,
okay,
and they go and do the ritual. Then they return them back. So they don't go to kill lions. The Morans don't go killing lions anymore.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
Okay.
We partner with the community by them coming to hire. They hire them, they use them, and then they take them back. That was an understanding, so that we don't have them going into the park and hunting lions as a ritual for the Morans.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's see what else is there. Kangangu says, we in Murang'a South, Kangangu neighboring Kakuzi, monkeys have become a great problem to us villagers. They eat in our farms every day. Please help. This monkey issue is quite rampant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, that is very true. Especially in the Murang'a area, we have seen an increase in monkeys. Murang'a and, incidentally, Bomas of Kenya area.
In fact, the ones at Bomas are very wild.
It's a menace. Actually, it's a very, very big menace. And I sympathize with the people that are there. But what we're doing is we are actually addressing it. However, primates are very intelligent.
Yeah.
Even if they do see us going in, and by the way, they even mark the person who normally comes and chases them away, or KWS is allowed to cull if at all there's a big problem. So sometimes we're forced to do that as a last resort. But they're very intelligent. The moment they see a KWS van, or they see KWS people dressed in the uniform, they take off.
They disappear.
They disappear, and they will disappear maybe for about a week. And they'll be coming back to see whether they are still there.
So it's a cat and mouse.
It's a cat and mouse game for us. But yes, we understand how destructive they are. And actually, they are very destructive.
Right.
But that is an issue that we are dealing with. I've got my people on it constantly. And we are addressing and responding to these issues on a daily basis.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, let's see what else is there. Manoti says, count to conserve is the only way to know the number of wild animals in the parks for proper conservation. All right, that's a comment. Let's go to the next one. See if you, Stanley Combs, do you have any plans for Tana River Nature Park, the home of the rare red colobus and the Tana Mangabi? Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, those are primates.
Yeah.
Yeah. And wildlife is the responsibility for Kenya Wildlife Service to look after, wherever it is, as long as it is in Kenya. And we do know about the species, those rare species.
Yeah.
And we do have a plan around them, because I know the scientists have been briefing me about that.
Okay.
So I'm aware there's a plan, especially on those primates in that area.
Okay. Yes. Let's see what else you're saying. Kask says, if you can do the 1.5-kilometer road from Nyatoto Gate to Nyadenda Gate in Ruma National Park, we shall appreciate, because it's a crossroad inside the park. This is the other thing. So roads that cross inside the park, are that entirely your responsibility?
Roads inside the park are our responsibility.
Yes.
However, we have two classes of roads. Classified and unclassified roads. Classified roads, we are normally supported by the Kenya Roads Board to actually maintain those roads. The other unclassified actually is the responsibility of Kenya Wildlife Service. We've been having challenges of the resources because of COVID. Obviously, we are actually maintaining ourselves at a bare minimum.
Shoestring budget.
A shoestring budget. But some of the roads, as were mentioned, are roads that actually we look at specifically. And if a road connects the community from one end to the other, and it so passes through the park.
Yeah.
We would like to have that road functional. So it's a good suggestion, and we will look at it in this financial year to see whether we can be able to do that road.
All right.
And thank you very much for that comment.
Okay. Let's see, you don't leave a name, but you say, ask him what they're doing in Naivasha from Hell's Gate to Olkaria. It is full of stranded animals at night as they try to get to Lake Naivasha for water, which is almost fully surrounded by hotels. Is that the situation?
Lake Naivasha?
Yes.
No.
Hell's Gate area around Olkaria.
Hell's Gate area, we have animals that are resident there.
Yeah.
We have buffalo, we have zebra,
yeah,
and other antelopes, which are resident in that area. I do not think the issue is that they're stranded for movement, because they are not restricted to move, because we've not fenced off that area to prevent those animals from going through.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I'm not very sure whether that is the situation, but I don't fully agree with that.
Okay.
Those animals are there because that's their home. That's
their natural habitat.
Yes.
Mureu James says, you're doing a splendid job, kudos. Just a little prompt on the handling of human-wildlife conflict in terms of compensation. I feel if you quickly compensated losses, then the animals will be safe, other than provoking the community to kill the marauding animals. Compensation, DG. We are back to this again.
I'd like to say hi to James Mureu. He's actually a friend. I know him.
Oh, he's your fan.
And yes, thank you very much. This has been an issue as far as human-wildlife conflict. But as I mentioned, Trevor, the resources, I mean, the compensation we have is so limited vis-a-vis the cases what government allocates. Is so limited. We can only do the best that we can, and usually we give priority to the most serious cases to be dealt with first. In other words, a death is what we would want to compensate the family, of the deceased person. Crop destruction or predation, that's where we go next. So there's a priority list on how we compensate. Because you can't, somehow, destruction of property is probably at the lower end, not because we don't think it's serious, but it's because we only have limited resources, and we want to take the most serious cases and compensate people so that then we can then go down the line. But as I said, it's only 500 million a year. And you're talking about, so far, we've only been able to compensate 3 billion with an outstanding 10 billion that needs to be paid. And cases are not stopping. They're actually increasing on a daily basis. So this is where we are.
Okay.
Yes.
In the National Census report, you said that the National Wildlife Census should be conducted after every 3 years.
Yes.
Why? Why 3 years and not 2 and not 1 and not even continuously?
3 years because first and foremost you can see, and you raise the concern yourself. 250 million is not a small amount of money. It's a sizable amount of money. I don't think the government will be able to give us 250 million every year, and I don't think we would also want that to happen in that way. Remember, this is a national census. It does not stop us from monitoring the wildlife continuously in the areas where we are. We do. And that's our job. That's what we do. So the census is just a way of understanding, have we had growth? Have we had reduction? Have we had, is it being done properly? Are we targeting our resources correctly? And we can do that over a cycle of every 3 years. So that we can then be able to adjust. But if you're doing it every year, one, the cost of doing so is going to be high. And we would rather, and the significant change may not be that much as far as the numbers are concerned. So that's why we're trying to create a balance between the cost of doing the exercise and the results that we'll get and how different they will be year on year. So a 3-year period seems to be a good balance on the cost and also the results that we expect, whether there's a decline or not. But it does not stop us from monitoring those animals constantly every single day, and that's what we do at KWS.
I see in recommendation number 12, you said fast-track the full operationalization of the Wildlife Research Training Institute, which is the corporate body mandated to undertake and coordinate wildlife research. How important is that? Because it's a new body, really.
Actually, Trevor, it's not new. Not in that way. Research has been going on within Kenya Wildlife Service, but never really to the extent to which we want it to go. We want research to be done properly. as should be,
yeah.
not as a subset of what we are doing. In other words, we were doing the conservation and security and management as Kenya Wildlife Service, and also doing research. It's a bit of a mix.
Yeah.
But the law, Kenya Wildlife Conservation and Management Act 2013, provides that there will be a Wildlife Research and Training Institute, which has now been rolled out, with the director being Dr. Patrick Omondi, who is now the director. And it's now being put in place. The reason why it is important, we need to be able to have a research body dedicated towards the research of wildlife. And this is going to make Kenya very unique in the sense that there are not many countries in Africa who actually have a dedicated research component within conservation that looks after the research of wildlife and the training for the same. So this is a very important component, and that's why it's been separated. And now we have the Wildlife Research and Training Institute. I was telling you about the DNA sequencer.
Yeah.
The DNA sequencer is what the researchers do so as to be able to know. Like now, for example, if you want to know, we arrest a lot of ivory cutting across, coming from other areas. Kenya is actually a conduit or a transit area for this illegal trade in ivory. And we have captured quite a lot. But then, for you to be able to know, where did this ivory come from? How old is this ivory? Where is it happening? And remember, this is important information for CITES. Because CITES would like to know, where is the poaching going on? Where is it rampant? In what area? So the genetic composition of animals and the ivory is known, and it will be able to be known through that research. They'll be able to tell that this ivory came from, for example, and I'm not saying that's where it's coming from, Zimbabwe or Namibia. Okay? And it is so many years old. That is important information worldwide for the world to know where is the poaching going on and what measures should be put in place to curtail it. So that's why a research institute is very, very important to us, because it gives us the information that we want on a species, on how the species is going on as an animal in wherever it is and its ecosystem. And for us then, it helps us to be able to now provide the management and security for the same. Yes.
DG, as we wind up on this, what is the strategy for KWS going forward? Because we've talked about so many things. There's dealing with the people, there's collaboration, trying to figure out how you manage human-wildlife conflict. What is your plan going forward?
Going forward, Kenya Wildlife Service would like to involve the community as much as possible in the management of wildlife. And that was my thrust. When I first came in, I realized if 2/3 of the animals live with the community, and if the community can participate in protecting and looking after this wildlife, then it is going to be a much easier job for Kenya Wildlife Service. You saw the government, and wish to thank the president and through the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife for the money that came in for the economic stimulus program, where 5,000 community scouts were employed. The reason why we got these scouts in, and we're also supporting community rangers, is so that the community can be in touch with conservation of wildlife. And we will provide the necessary support to be able to do this. These people are on our payroll. They're actually not on the payroll of, not of the counties where they come. It's with KWS. And if that succeeds, then we will see less human-wildlife conflict. We will see better conservation of wildlife. There'll be more to see. And that's why we then will be encouraging Kenyans and people from out of Kenya to visit. Zuru, Zuru Amboseli, Zuru, all these other beautiful places. Zuru Watamu, you know. Go and see. This is your heritage. This heritage belongs to Kenyans. We only look after it, and we're mandated to look after it on behalf of Kenyans. And again, Of course, the issue of counting to conserve, that's why we want to be doing it every 3 years so that we can conserve better.
Okay. Yes. You said you're traveling to the IUCN. Yes. What will be your rallying call there as we wind up on this? My
rallying call will be about plastic-free protected areas. Single plastic use should be banned because it's a real menace to animals. When animals eat plastic, they will die, and it will just destroy the environment having plastics in protected areas. So our rallying call will be, let's ban plastics in protected areas.
All right. And finally, a message to your team. You said this is the first time the wildlife census was done on this scale, and they did it themselves without any external help. I know this is your chance to give them a shout out.
Absolutely. And Trevor, thank you very much. These are wonderful people. The scientists that did this job, the rangers, the personnel that were involved, all the other stakeholders who supported us in this exercise. And I want to single out the Kenya Defense Forces because they really did do a brilliant job of supporting us during that time. We want to say thank you. I, as Director General Kenya Wildlife Service, I'm really proud to have a very professional team. Well done, team.
All right. Thank you so much for making time for us, Brigadier Retired John Waweru, Director General, Kenya Wildlife Service, speaking about the census report. By the way, where can people find this report? Can they download it from the website?
Yes, they can get it on our website.
Okay.
On www.kws.go.ke.
All right.
Yes, you can.
Brilliant. That's where we leave it for now. We couldn't pose all your questions. There are too many of them online, but you can get the report as well. And somehow along the line, we'll have this conversation again. All right. Thank you so much for staying with Daybreak. We're taking a quick break. When we come back, Willis Bazuraburu is working out. As usual, I don't. My excuse is I'm wearing a suit. See you in a bit.